Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Hardly Millennial podcast, where we are young, dumb, and full of
opinions, folks.
Opinions, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I want to start off. First, my name's Adam.
And I'm Matthew Lynn.
But you guys already knew that.
You knew that, guys.
So I want to start off by saying Matthew and I were looking through the analytics on YouTube in regards to our own YouTube channel.
Yeah, they're fascinating.
And we were actually kind of surprised. So twice now within podcasts have we dipped into anything kind of political, right? These political conversations.
Yes. Indeed.
And obviously, if you listened to the one yesterday, it was all politics yesterday.
100%.
And then there was, I think, episode 5, we got into a little bit on social politics and identity politics and things within that realm. And funny enough, we kind of were always iffy about stepping into politics and talking about it because we assumed people just wanted to really be entertained, not necessarily get into the politics of life. They wanted to escape from that.
We didn't think anyone wanted to hear it, honestly.
But those are some of our high-ranking videos through the analytics.
You guys are loving it. Apparently, you want the politics.
So we're listening, and specifically yesterday's conversation, we got a lot of good feedback about it. I had people texting me about it. We had comments. We had messages. People really liked yesterday's podcast, especially.
Yeah, I had a few people tell me that we did an all right job covering all the different bases.
Yeah.
So that was nice to hear. We appreciate the feedback, guys. Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll give you guys some more of those, but not today.
Not today, guys. We're gonna tone it down a few notches today.
We're gonna be a little more lighthearted.
Adam had a rough night, guys. So
I did.
In lieu of that, we decided we're gonna kind of sit back today, relax a little bit, and kind of talk about something that is near and dear to everyone's heart, honestly.
Superheroes, ladies and gentlemen. Today's subject is superheroes and anything that could possibly fall under that category.
Yeah, I mean, not just the villains. There's super villains. There's worlds that these people, these beings live in.
There's movies, the comics, discussions of which brands are better than the other brands.
Let's start with the all-encompassing question, okay? Adam, who is your favorite superhero?
It'll sound cliche, but Batman. I'm definitely a big Batman fan, always have been.
Oh, really?
I am.
Well, this is going to be an interesting conversation, ladies and gentlemen.
But you could also argue that Batman is not a superhero, so he doesn't technically have any superpowers.
You just had to start with Batman. You just had to start with him.
You might as well just jump into the waters.
Okay, so I guess rather than tell you my favorite, let's just start with my least favorite superhero.
It's Batman.
Who is Batman? I hate him. I can't stand Batman. So let's begin, I guess. Why do you think he's great?
Well, I actually like the fact, and I think this is why a lot of people like him. I like the fact that he doesn't have the superpowers. He's basically just this very highly intellect person who just happened to be born into one of the wealthiest families in the world to be able to, put on the crusade. I don't know. There's also I also like the way that the Batman character has evolved over the years. So if you look into the very first depictions of Batman from Bob Kane, it's you get the tights and the underwear on the outside and the shark repellents and this
very
that,
like
and the
ice
other
skater
thing.
Batman.
Yeah, very very G-rated also.
Yeah, okay, all right.
And those are good. I mean, obviously know your roots, embrace the past, right? But you also like the way that character has evolved now is there are there are people who have written books about the psychosis of Batman and Bruce Wayne and what it would take for, or what somebody in real life would have to have going on in their mind to tell them that, oh, it's okay to dress up like a bat and be this vigilante, but
Right.
still maintain that same kind of intelligence level. And then aside from just Batman the character, you also get to see how all these characters have evolved. I mean, look at the Joker. He's probably the most iconic comic book character, period.
I love the
in
Joker.
the world.
Everybody loves the Joker.
Exactly. Everybody
Right?
loves but that's also a character that has drastically evolved over the years.
He's almost not quite the same in any Batman story.
Yeah,
Like, from
there's
one to
always-
another, he's very different.
But that's also the same thing with Batman. You know, you can get the really
Yes, that's
gritty
true.
kind of Frank Miller Batmans. You can get kind of the Adam West Batmans. You can get somewhere in the middle. You know, you have Nolan's realistic, you know, Batman trilogy that he did.
What's
right?
the one that talked like this? Who was that one? Which one was that one?
That was the Christopher Nolan ones.
That was Christopher Nolan. That was the newer one.
The newest ones are with Ben Affleck. These are the ones back from like, I think The Dark Knight came out in 2008.
Yeah,
with
The
Heath
Dark
Ledger.
Knight with Heath Ledger.
Yeah,
that was
that
him.
one.
Okay,
Yeah, that was the one.
that was
But-
probably the most ridiculous Batman.
The
of
Dark
all of
Knight?
Great movie, fantastic. I loved the movie. But that Batman, I mean, come the fuck on.
Oh, you
the
mean the
dude-
Batman, the character himself?
Yes.
Okay.
It was just, we get it. We get it. You're gruff. You're tough. You're Batman.
Well, that's obvious. That's the biggest fucking gripe anybody has about that movie. I mean, I have that about that movie.
Just the whole he never broke it for a minute,
I
dude.
know.
The dude was solid the whole time.
Nobody understood it either, because in the first
It was so unnecessary.
well, and they already did another movie before that one. They did Batman Begins, right? And if
Right.
you watch that movie, you know, he makes his voice lower like this.
but not.
it's not this.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
No, you're right though. You're right. But anyways, but there's an evolution that has happened to the Batman character in the Batman world over the years, and it hasn't been anything like any of the other superheroes. You haven't seen that same kind of evolution with Superman. I mean, there has been evolution, don't get me wrong.
Superman's very classic.
Yes.
That's one thing that I actually really love about him, is that he kind of hasn't really changed over the years.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard to change Superman in particular because he kind of gets off as he's like the hero of heroes, right? He gets all the powers.
Well, I think in one of the comics, he even becomes a god at one point, you know?
Yeah, like he is literally Superman. So, but I like that he's still very classic. His
Yeah.
attire, what he wears hasn't changed. You know, his gal hasn't changed.
Right.
I don't know. He's not my favorite superhero. My favorite one is Spider-Man.
I like Spider-Man a lot,
I
too.
love Spider-Man because he's he's like a regular guy, kind of nerdy, and he becomes like his perfect alter ego almost. Like
Yeah.
Spider-Man is the kind of badass shit talker, you know, saves the day, but he's going to make you work for it a little bit,
Right.
kind of thing. Whereas Peter Parker is like a nerd who he's our typical, he's what we all were in high school, right? Where most of us were in high school.
Right.
He wants the pretty girl who really wants him too, but he's afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's very, very relatable. There's a clear way that he got his superpowers, right? He got bit by the spider, so it's very easy to understand. He doesn't come from outer space or any other world or anything like that. He's just a
Right.
dude. And really, what's his gimmick? He's got the web, right? But other than that, he's clever, right? Like that, he has to use his web in clever ways.
I actually think the only real powers that Spider-Man has, because the webs aren't even part of his skin in the
They're
comics.
cartridges.
Cartridges.
So they can even run out.
Yeah.
They do all the time.
And I think his only powers are actually just the...
Strength. He's strong.
Okay, you're right. I did forget about that one. So there's strength, there's the spider sense, the spidey sense.
The spidey sense.
And
And then he
then-
can move really fast.
Well, he can crawl on walls.
Oh, yeah.
He
That's
does have
true,
that
too. He
ability
does
to
have
crawl
that.
on walls. And I'm sure there's diehard Spider-Man fans who are like, well, he can also do this and this, and in this
Yeah,
episode...
but he can't fly. He doesn't have
Yes, it's-
lasers. There's no
yeah.
X-ray vision.
Calm down, everybody.
Calm down.
But no, I've actually always really liked
He can do it
Spider-Man.
without his suit, right? In the comics, does he have to have his suit on to have his powers? He's
No,
still
no,
super
no.
strong and can go on walls and stuff
Oh, yeah,
while
yeah.
he's Peter Parker.
The costume is simply for utility purposes and
Totally.
covering his
Okay.
identity. Yeah.
Like it. So back to Batman, because I'm not done with him yet. He's not a superhero, first of all.
Right.
So there's nothing super about him,
Right.
right?
Except for maybe his intellect, arguably.
Not even that. His freaking butler is way smarter than he is. His butler's always answering the question for him. He's always, what's the butler's name?
Oh, Alfred?
Alfred? That's what okay. He's always like, Alfred, I need to save the fucking world. And I don't know how to do it. And Alfred's like, oh, well, your father would have, sat back and relaxed for a minute and the idea will come to you. And it's always Alfred saving the day. Batman just goes and punches the dudes.
No, that's not really how. I mean, I guess you could argue that in like some of the depictions of Batman, but that's what's really cool about Batman is there's a lot of different variations and depictions of him.
Well, it goes deeper. So he's not super, okay? But let's take the other half. He's not a hero either. Even if he was,
Well, he's a vigilante.
super,
He's never described as a hero.
Exactly.
He's always described as a vigilante.
So he is neither super nor hero. So how dare we call him a superhero?
Well, and I even stated that at the beginning that technically you could argue that he's not a superhero.
He's a rich
for the
guy with
reasons you
gadgets.
just added.
That's it. And while I'm at it, I hate to do it because I do kind of like him. Iron Man, you're not a superhero either, homie. You're also just a rich guy with a suit.
I was never into Iron Man.
Well, I love who was it who played the
Robert Downey
Jr. Great, awesome, did an awesome job playing him.
Yeah.
But I think that it's not fair for me to be like I like the actor, so I like the superhero too.
Right.
Because really, I don't. I like that he's a shit talker. I like when the superheroes are kind of sassy.
Right.
Yeah.
So would you consider would you consider somebody like in Marvel they have, because I'm trying to think actually through like the Marvel superheroes, and I feel like the main ones that you at least see through the Marvel movies right now, I feel like most of them you really wouldn't consider, I think, superheroes.
Well, so who do we got for Marvel? We got
You have Iron Man,
not
which
a
we
superhero.
went through that. You have Thor, who's a god.
I'll give him superhero. Okay.
You'll give him superhero?
He's superhero. He's got powers.
Okay.
Yeah, superhero.
You have Hulk. I guess that would be a superhero. His powers,
Superhero.
he can get angry.
Again, I would argue he's not really a hero, but I guess he makes good decisions in the end.
Right. Hawkeye, I wouldn't consider a superhero.
No one even cares about him.
Yes. Nor Black Widow.
Don't even know who that is.
Nor, no, Captain America's a superhero. He's got super
Captain
strength,
America's
right?
a badass.
Yes.
And if you don't think he is, then honestly, you should just not live in America. Because Captain America's the quintessential badass.
That's his thing, though. He has super strength, right? That's his power.
Well, mostly I think his shield is his thing. He's just
thing?
really clever with his shield.
Okay. I think he has super strength.
Super strength. I think that he's really fast. He's like a
Okay.
superhuman.
Yeah.
They brought him back in World War I to fight, or World War II to fight the fucking Nazis.
Yeah, exactly. Or they turned a really. Oh yeah, because I guess he was like super small, skinny kid or something.
Yeah, he got
and
fucked
they
up
did.
or something.
Yeah,
They beefed him
right.
up. Yeah,
That's right.
No, he's a badass superhero all the way.
Superhero.
Who else? We got Spider-Man. It's Marvel, right?
Superhero.
Superhero. Love
Yeah.
him. Oh God, what are the X-Men?
Ooh, I feel like the X-Men are just in their own kind of league.
Thing. So if anything, they would be my favorite group.
I love
the X-Men.
So I'm not a really big fan of like the Marvel comics and the Marvel movies, but I do really enjoy. There's two specifically I really enjoy. It's actually Spider-Man and the X-Men series. I really enjoy
X-Men is
X-Men.
really neat because they give it like a human take to it.
Yeah,
like each of them have their own small power, and really they need each other to be a badass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and yeah, exactly. And it's like everybody's this puzzle piece, right? And they all have to come together for it. What I really enjoy about X-Men also is there's always kind of been this undertone where you have the mutants and then you have the regular people, right?
Right.
And the mutants are being looked at as this deformity. It's like it doesn't doesn't matter if you can do this or
Yeah, they're
fly.
always kinda
It's a
getting shit on.
deformity, right? So what I really enjoy about that series is even though there's real shit and super villainy stuff going on around them that they have to solve, the it's like the base undertone of the whole thing is like we are, second class citizens to regular people, but yet we're the ones with superpowers. So it really creates this really interesting conflict because that's the whole thing, right? Magneto, one of the you could argue the arch nemesis of the X-Men crew,
Right.
And then you have Charles Xavier, Professor X, who's ahead of the X-Men
Jean-Luc
crew.
Picard, right?
Jean-Luc Picard.
Love him.
And
Great.
but what's really cool about their dynamic is they're friends. One just happens to think that we should learn to be integrated with human society. And Magneto's like, well, fuck you. We're superheroes. Like, screw everybody else. They want to hate us.
We're super people.
Super people,
So they
yeah.
make themselves villains.
Exactly.
Right.
So
why should they be friends with the humans when they
Yeah.
can just rule over them?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But they're both kind of just as powerful, which is why they've always like fought with each other.
Yeah.
So here's a good question for you. Hugh Jackman or Jean-Luc Picard, who played a better X-Man? Because they're the best two, right? Wolverine and the fucking Professor.
Right.
They're the two
So you
coolest
mean like who
X-Men.
outacted the
Yeah,
other
and the
person?
actual actors who acted
Oh,
better.
I think they're on the same
It's
same
hard,
level.
isn't it? They're
Well,
both really good.
Well, no, I think they're on the same level.
I give it to Picard. Sorry. Oh, it hurt my body to say it, but I give it
Wait,
to him.
I'm confused what you're asking here because Hugh Jackman and Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart didn't play the same person.
I know they did not play the same person.
Okay.
I'm saying that within their roles, they both played X-Men. Who played an X-Man better?
Okay. Well, I would have to say Hugh Jackman because
I really want to too.
Well,
but
the reason why I have to is because Hugh Jackman set a precedence of how that role is supposed to be played. When you think of Wolverine, the name Wolverine is now synonymous with Hugh Jackman. Even when they went back and started making the prequels, they didn't get Patrick Stewart to play his younger self. They got somebody else, but Hugh Jackman was still playing Wolverine.
so I only argue that Wolverine is an easier role to play than the Professor is.
Oh, I don't think
That's my
so.
only argument because Wolverine, you only really need to be a muscular badass. Because all he really does is back talk. So you
Not-
just have to be like the shut everyone out kind of attitude. But with the Professor, you have to have emotion. You have to have hatred at the right moments. Because at the peak, at the apex of the movie, it's like it's the anger that really gets his power out.
Yeah,
But most of the time he's calm and cool and collected. And
But you had those moments also with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I mean, especially within the first, I would argue the first couple X-Men movies, not X-Men 3. Fuck that movie. But then also, like, did you see Logan? The newest one of him,
no,
super...
I didn't see that one.
Dude,
It's really good.
Oh my gosh. Matt, that is like even superhero and X-Men stuff aside, it is just a very powerful movie.
It's a good movie.
It's a very good movie.
So it's like specifically the story of Wolverine.
It's the last story of Wolverine. That's why it's called Logan.
What do you mean the last story? He can't die.
Well, it's about but the whole thing was Hugh Jackman's not reprising his role. So, but he wanted to do one more movie.
So do they make him like sail off into the distance in the end? So he's just gone.
You'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it for
They can't
you.
kill him, so they have to just banish him.
You'll
or
have to
something.
watch it. I think you will really enjoy it. It's a very good movie. And it's rated R too, so it's the only X-Men movie where you get to hear Wolverine just say fuck every other word.
Oh,
And you get to hear Professor X too. But the story behind it's really cool, right? So you have Professor X that's still in this, right?
right.
And I'll try to explain this without spoiling anything per se. But Professor X has He's getting old, right? So he's this telepath.
Getting old. He's
Yeah.
finally starting to get a little
Well,
old.
I'm talking about the movie specifically.
He's 107.
Though, right?
He's starting to get old.
But in the movie, though, I mean, who is Professor X? He's this guy who has telekinetic and psychic abilities, right?
Right.
Well, what happens when somebody with telekinetic and psychic abilities starts to develop dementia?
Oh, that would be a good time.
Yes.
Oh, my.
So the movie touches on that a little bit, and
Oh,
it's
that's
just
fun.
it's a really good movie, dude.
Which one was the X-Men movie where they had him go back in time and find the professor when he was younger?
Days of Futures Past.
That was the last one I watched. That was really good. I really loved that movie.
I really liked that one. The last one I saw, or I think it's the last one that came out also, was Apocalypse with the blue guy, the big blue villain.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that one. Missed that one. How was it?
I enjoyed it. I tend to, but I'm one of those people where it's like, oh, I enjoyed the X-Men movies, and people will go, why? You know, it's
Really?
Yeah, I think it's
Are they notoriously not well loved?
yeah. I think amongst a lot of diehard comic book and even the movie superhero movie nerds, I think there's a lot of people who have a lot of gripes with it, and I understand why.
They just feel that the movie didn't do it justice.
I think they feel all the movies don't do them justice.
I
is
can
the
totally
issue,
see that.
Yeah.
I can
so
see that.
plus, and when somebody finally explained to me, so the newest movie was called X-Men Apocalypse, right? This big blue villain, that's what he was. His name was Apocalypse, and he's supposed to be like the father of the mutants, right? Like that's where everybody. He's in this ancient thing where
And they kill him. They kill their dad.
Well, they kill him.
That's
do.
great.
But the thing is, but there was this one movie, right? It was he showed up at the beginning of the movie and then was, defeated at the end of the movie. So you only got this being for this. But I guess within the X-Men universe, he's like the equivalent to like Thanos is in the Marvel universe, or that Darkseid is in the DC
Oh, and they
universe.
gave him like a 2-hour
Exactly.
Oh, he had like a cameo.
So he almost, yeah. So he was supposed to be this big giant villain, similar to these ones from these other brands.
And they just didn't.
And he just ended up being this. So I enjoyed the movie going into it not knowing any of that.
Did you follow any comics as a kid? Did you follow any of the X-Men or anything?
So I didn't ever really follow any superhero comics. I think my dad at one point tried to get me into them, and I think it might have been just the art style or the way that you read through them that I didn't like. But one thing I did enjoy when I was younger is I liked comic strips.
Oh yeah, like actual funny comics.
Yeah, so
like in the newspaper.
So my dad and my family in general are really into like Charlie Brown and Snoopy and the Peanuts gang,
yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
And so my dad used to have this, he probably still does, but this book that was just all of these Peanut comics.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I would just sit there and just read all of these little strips, right? And then, but he also had a book that was like just these little snippets of Batman comics from when the comics were actually in like the newspaper, these like tiny little
like when they
things.
were actually drawn like back in the day.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
so
cool.
it was this book that was just like classic Batman comics. So you got
was Batman comics cool? Did you dig it as a kid?
Well, that was just it. It's like I always liked the superhero because at that point there were movies like Tim Burton's Batman was already around, as well as like some of the sequels at that point, and there was the cartoon series on Cartoon Network that was out. So through those outlets is how I came to love Batman, and then I started learning about the actual comic stuff later on. But even till this day, I don't really read the comics. When I want to know like what happened in them, I'll like go to the internet and just be like, give me the synopsis of like who this character is, how they came to be. I don't know what it is. I've tried to go back and read some of the like classic, even some of the newer ones that are out, and I just can't get into them the same way.
So to me, comic books, like actual paperback comic books, are very much like vinyls in that it's kind of a culture.
Yeah.
So they're totally unnecessary, but they're still around because people just like to interact with the information that way.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
So when I was a kid, we're only like a year or two apart, me and you. So I was pretty similar. Comic books had kind of already had their time. I was born in the early 90s. So I got my superheroes from cartoons.
Right.
And you said Cartoon Network, and it may have been.
I think that's
I
where
just remember like Saturday morning cartoon kind of thing.
that might have been where it started.
So
But yeah.
if there's any nerds out there, like right after the Thundercats days,
Yes.
like you had like the Thundercats, He-Man kind
I
of
was
days.
just gonna say He-Man.
So
Yeah.
the next edition of cartoons that came out, they did a lot of like Superman. There was a Superman one. There was
remember
a
that one.
Spider-Man one that I was really into. I got into the Spider-Man. And then Power Rangers kind of came around a little while after that.
Yeah.
That was my interaction with superheroes.
Nope, and just as you said, we're just, a year or two apart. So it was very similar with me. I remember watching, I think a big one that was on too was like Batman Beyond. I used to watch, and
Yeah.
even when I was younger growing up, I really, people make fun of them now, but I really enjoyed the Batman movies with like Mr. Freeze.
Arnold
and-
Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, also, like who else was it there? Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy. I actually really, as a kid, I really enjoyed those movies and watching those movies.
I'll have to
but-
say I did too. There was
know.
an older Superman movie that came out a little after the Mr. Freeze Batman days. It was a little newer than that.
Oh, but it was like is that the one where Kevin Spacey played Lex Luthor?
Maybe it may have been. It was
Okay.
a really young Kevin Spacey.
Younger, yeah.
It may have been. I don't know. It had the typical Lois Lane and the dude with the gorgeous hair. And he was young. Yeah, I don't know. It was a typical Superman movie, but it must have been whichever one was popular in the mid '90s because that's when I was watching it.
Oh, see, I don't even know if one came out in the minute. I think there was a show, a Superman show. Oh, Smallville. Are you thinking of the show Smallville?
No, earlier than that.
Oh, okay.
Earlier than that.
I'm not sure then.
I don't know either.
Because I think the Christopher Reeve Batman movies were, maybe one of them, because I think there was 4 of those, so maybe one of them came out. You know what? If you know the answer,
Somebody tell us.
Just-
Kyle, we know you're out there. Let us know in the comments, brother. He'll tell us.
good on you, Kyle. Good on you. No, but but yeah, that's how I grew up with them. Comics that I actually really enjoyed, and this is why I think more the reason why I didn't get into the superhero comics was due to like the art style. I'm really particular about stuff like that, because one thing I did get into when I was younger was reading mangas, which are anime comic books. That's where animes come from.
Okay. Didn't like Dragon Ball Z and stuff started as that.
Started
right?
as that, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Basically, any anime you
It's
watch.
getting more and more popular now, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely started with our generation, and it's working its way up from there. I mean, you could argue it happened with Gen X, but I mean, it's our generation going to the.
So
the
I
cons.
have no knowledge of mangas at all. What was it that made them appealing to you as a kid?
Like I said, I think it was the art style. I've just always thoroughly enjoyed the art style of anime, and what I think anime gets a lot of bad rep simply because it's, well, first of all, people will associate it with its fan base, and the fan base isn't always, people you want to associate yourself with. And I'm speaking as somebody who used to associate myself with them, right?
Right.
And there's also, and unfortunately, there's a lot of animes out there that glorify, women's boobs and butt, and
They're very
there's-
sexually oriented.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've watched animes where it's like a boy in high school, and he just happens to find himself in this like supernatural situation where like there are 5 girls who are just aching after him, and they're all kind of like fighting over him, and there's a core story also, but really it's just watching 12 episodes of that, right? So
I mean, it's somewhat relatable, though.
I mean-
every young man has had those thoughts.
well, of course, and that's why people like to watch because it's almost like outliving a fantasy, right? In
Yeah.
some weird way, but that's where like the stigma of anime comes from, whereas why a lot of people who don't watch it make fun of it and things like that. But what always appealed to me was you could do more with the animation that made telling a story more believable. So one thing that you always get with the comic books, the Marvel, the DCs, is there's a very kind of specific way you animate a comic book. And I think if I say a comic book animation, anybody kind of knows what that looks like and what that is, right?
Yeah, I gotcha.
But I think those go a little too far with creating these very realistic looking characters and such, because then when you're trying to animate them doing something unrealistic, well, you may not be able to do that or be able to do it in a very entertaining way for somebody who's just looking at a picture. Whereas anime is kind of this cross between cartoon and a more realistic image of people. So you're able to do these more kind of outlandish things with these characters and put them in these situations, but
Right.
still be able to view it like it's something other than a cartoon, because these are people that are drawn to proportion. They have 5 fingers, 5 toe, or 5 fingers, 10 fingers, 10 toes.
So I would argue that maybe the depiction of the people is a little bit more believable, but the worlds that they're in are
Oh,
usually
totally
very
different.
fantastic and made up.
But I think the only reason why you can get away with that in the kind of manga anime sphere is because of the animation style they chose for the people. So
Right.
you can kind of create this, otherworldly thing, but still be able to ground it in reality a little bit, if that makes sense. You're not having you're not having.
You can keep it relatable.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
way to say it. You can keep
Yeah.
it more relatable. You're not having a mouse, a turtle, and a magic cloud. Traveling to imagination
Right.
land.
They're three people. They might have crazy hair, or the weapons might be a little
Yeah.
fantasy or something.
And just as you said, relatable. If in every manga and every anime, they always end up giving people backstories, and the backstories are always just that. They're very relatable things. Oh, my mom was in the hospital. I cared for her for years, and then she died, so it caused me to do this. Oh, I didn't get along with my brother growing up. We were always fighting, and we still can't, see past each other's differences. Or they're always relatable.
I was born with a power level of
situations.
10,000, and I was meant to save the world. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, there you go. Which I relate to that, but
Absolutely, right?
but I think that's at least why I enjoy anime, and I think why I enjoyed manga growing up more.
I think the fight scenes in anime is a lot cooler than the fight scenes in comic books.
Yes, me too. That was probably also a contributing factor. You're watching. Dragon Ball Z is the perfect example. You're just energy rays everywhere, shooting from people's hands and feet and.
I mean, energy rays are amazing, right? You collect it in a
Fuck
ball,
yeah.
you shoot it at each other, it blows stuff up.
And
it's
if
cool.
anybody out there who watched Dragon Ball Z tries to claim that they did not at one point in their life try to perform a real life Kamehameha, you're a fucking
you're
liar.
lying. You're lying. I didn't even watch that show that much, and I did it. I do think that comics are typically more of a Western thing, right? Like our Marvel and DC, and it's more of a Western.
As somebody ignorant to that, I would say yes. I
Yeah.
think so.
So the scripting in it, like the actual words and how the characters talk and stuff, we must lose a lot of the character in mangas. We must lose a lot of them through translation. Whereas
Yes.
we keep a lot more of our superhero characters because there's no translating that needs to happen.
Yes and no. You have to remember the people who go in and translate these words. First of all, I'm sure they go through more than one, translator, because there are mistranslations to a lot of things, right? There's a lot of languages that don't have certain words, or they
Right.
use certain proverbs or idioms that don't even exist in the English language, right?
Right.
Something completely different. So there are some things that they have to change. And actually, if you ask any anime fan, they'll tell you that they see those happen all the time, especially in anime. There's a anime streaming service like the Netflix of anime called Crunchyroll. And
Yeah, you've talked about
yeah.
that before.
So the cool thing about Crunchyroll is you can go into Crunchyroll, you can watch all of, these animes. They have a giant,
What's it called?
list of them. Crunchyroll.
Oh, okay.
And you can watch all of these animes, but they're all in their original language, Japanese. You can't watch them in English.
Oh.
So you get the subtitles with them. And what's funny is, as far as the mistranslations go, I can point out many a times I've watched any of these animes and a subtitle will come up, and I've literally had to pause it, rewind it. Rewind, there's a word people haven't heard before. Go back. And like read it again. I'm like, sometimes it just won't make any fucking sense. It'll
It's
just
one
be
of
out
those
of place. It's
mistranslations.
just one of those mistranslations, or there was no other way to translate it. Maybe that was the only way. It's like, okay, well, it means this, so here you go.
I guess they get as close as possible.
Yeah, but I don't know. But as far as the superhero topic goes, though, I don't ever think you could really. I don't know if you could really group any one anime or manga character as a superhero, because really they all just kind of are. The premise of a lot of them are just, oh, I can do this. Just as you said, I was born with a power level of 10,000.
Yeah, every character is
however
super.
will I, yeah.
The whole world they live in is super.
Yeah.
Our superheroes are super people who live in a regular world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Whereas sometimes you get some cool variation where you'll get regular people who live in a super world. I mean, you could argue that with like Attack on Titan or Death Note. But what's going to really have to happen, Matthew, is I'm going to have to sit you down and say, okay, Matthew, this is anime.
I'm so ignorant to just superheroes in general. I just missed that boat. I was a math kid. I was doing I was counting leaves on a tree.
Honestly, though, that's why I kind of wanted to have this conversation with you also. I just thought it'd be interesting to have a conversation with somebody who
You think it'd be
didn't
funny
really...
to throw me under the bus, Adam?
No,
you thought you thought it was a good idea?
You definitely have opinions. You're definitely young, dumb, and full of them.
Thanks. Thanks, I think.
But
so does every superhero, do they all have like a kryptonite? Like do all of them have one thing that's their super weakness?
I don't think all the time, no. I don't think Spider-Man has one. There's not one specific thing that's like Spider-Man's weakness, right? Or even things like Aquaman, I don't think either. Well, I guess Superman's the one that has kryptonite, but...
Is that the thing they had to give Superman kryptonite because he was so badass?
Yes, and they've given them other things over the years also. Like,
Really?
Yeah, certain like constituencies, right? So they've yeah, there's
He's half as strong in the month of October.
It's literally things like that.
That's ridiculous.
It's literally things like that. So like there's one specific thing, and I'm probably getting some of this wrong as far as the wording is concerned.
The internet's gonna attack you, Adam.
But so Superman, I believe, draws his power from our sun, right?
Okay.
So having said that, there are some suns, because remember, Superman can go off into space and interstellar travel and all that other shit, right?
He chills on Krypton all the time.
Yeah. So there are some suns that drain his power, and there are other suns that will actually grant him more power than our own sun does.
Okay.
So there's one of the things. There's been
He's different levels of power based on what solar system he's in?
Yes.
Interesting.
There's a lot though, but there's also he's just a god though, really.
So does he beat all the other superheroes?
He could.
Does he beat Thor?
I'm sure he could, yes. 100%, dude. Okay, so there's this video on YouTube.
You told me about this
The
once.
Goku versus Superman. Yeah.
I still don't believe it. Tell the viewers. For anyone who doesn't know.
Okay, so there's this video on YouTube, and it's a channel that these guys run. I can't remember what the channel is called. Sorry, kind of a sort of shout out. But they had this video called Superman versus Goku. And the whole thing was just that. These guys, I was very impressed. These guys really went into each of the lore of both the characters, every single thing that they have ever done in the history of their existence.
They're the two biggest badasses.
Yes.
They have saved their respective world more times than you can count.
Yes. And it's been a question amongst comic book and anime fans of who would win, Goku or Superman. And to be honest, a lot of people argue Goku, just as you do. But
I mean, dude, he's got the Super Saiyan thing. There's so many different levels of it.
They trust me, dude. I could explain it back, but I just would not do it justice. But I will say that I was somebody like you who was like, Goku would win. Fuck Superman. Goku's got Superman, especially when he
got the time chamber.
The time chamber. They put all of that into consideration, man. They
and
literally
Superman still won.
Superman still won.
So Goku could not find some kryptonite. Are you kidding me?
They visited that scenario also. I'm telling you, dude,
if he finds kryptonite, it's game over.
I'm telling you, dude, every scenario you can think of in your head, they thought about, they explained it, and
did they put into account the Dragon Ball Z homies? Piccolo's going to come help.
No, these are just one-on-one fights.
Oh, bullshit.
So neither.
No, Goku doesn't do that. He's going to have Krillin. Krillin's going to get his ass kicked for 20 minutes before Goku even gets there.
No, well, but that's just it, though. Goku's a big-time advocate on the one-on-one fight. He doesn't want an unfair fight. That's always his thing.
After the villain is tired and has already beaten everyone in the world up, then Goku will come around and be like, I'm the last one left.
No, there was literally an episode where Goku and Cell were fighting, and Cell was hurt in some way, shape, or form, and Goku literally turns to Krillin and goes, Krillin, do you have any more of those sensu beans? And Krillin's like, oh yeah, here you go, Goku. And Goku fucking takes the sensu bean and throws it to Cell so that he's at full power again, so that Goku can get a fair fight.
But in the Frieza saga, by the time Goku even gets there, isn't Frieza so tired from kicking everyone's ass that he goes his own, like everyone can kind of do a Super Saiyan thing, right? They can all like evolve to the next power level. Doesn't Frieza literally go to the next power level because he's tired of kicking everyone's ass at the first power level? He's like, I'm bored. I'm going to power up to fight you now.
Yes, that did happen.
Okay. But so he literally went through the whole first level of power just kicking Krillin's ass.
But Goku wasn't there, though.
Exactly. Well, when Goku gets there, the villain was already tired from beating everyone up.
No, it's always Goku gets there when the villains at their most powerful. And then Goku kicks their ass. And he always has to get to some next level in order to kick their ass.
I'm just saying, I never saw a saga where Krillin didn't get his ass kicked for about 30 minutes while Goku was powering up.
That's just because that's what Krillin does.
That's literally what his character's for.
But it wasn't because, look, okay, we're getting crazy here about Dragon Ball Z. So
also, real quick, I just want to say, just real quick, okay?
What, Matthew? What is it?
So, if Goku can't beat Superman,
okay,
Gohan can. Because technically, Gohan is the strongest character in the whole Dragon Ball Z universe.
Let me tell you, dude, one of my biggest fucking gripes with the fucking Dragon Ball Z series is the fact that Gohan was not a bigger deal after the Cell saga. When they came back into the Buu saga and he was like he was trying to be a superhero. Remember, he's like, I'm the great Saiyan man. Yeah. I was like, oh, fuck you, Gohan.
Technically, if you really look into it, and I dare you guys really look into it.
I know.
As far as the lore goes, Gohan is the strongest character in all of existence. Yep. But his thing that holds him back is he hates fighting. He hates fighting.
Ugh.
Yeah.
He beat Cell with a one-hand Kamehameha. Like, yeah,
he could beat anybody.
Yes,
he could even beat Goku technically.
I am 100% on your side with that, but
so put him against Superman. Let's see what happens.
But instead, we have him as just the great Saiyan man. Well, he would fucking lose because he never fucking trains. The thing is, he has the potential. Like the potential's already there, but he doesn't do anything with. Oh, that's just another gripe for another day.
Whatever.
But anyways, go check out Superman versus Goku.
Apparently it's interesting.
And you'll see what I mean. I'll probably just show it to Matthew after this podcast, and we'll, discuss it the next time that we're there.
So, I just had a weird thought. Do you think that, like, Goku or Superman or, like, any superhero, I guess, do you think they could live in, like, real world? Do you think they could actually make it in our reality? Like maybe Spider-Man could, because he can be a regular guy. But someone like Superman.
Well, it's always interesting to think of how well, we know as society how we would really view somebody who did that. So are we assuming that this is a like our world now, the comic books and stuff already exist, right? We already have the knowledge we have of superheroes and things like that.
Yeah, let's assume that. Let's say that like literally tomorrow, Spider-Man's born.
Well, the first thing that would happen is we would look at them and be like, this guy's an idiot, or this guy's a freak, or there must be something wrong with this person, and that person would have to be around long enough without breaking any laws. You couldn't be a Batman unless you were super sneaky and
You certainly couldn't start out as a Batman.
No,
you'd have to work your way to that.
Yeah, so and then you would have to help enough people to where then people will be proud to be like, oh, we have Mr. Man in our town or city or whatever it is. But I don't know. I think now, if you want to argue having a Superman, let's say somebody with the powers of Superman existed in our world.
Let's say.
Well, everybody would view him as a god, wouldn't they?
What if you woke up as Superman tomorrow? Would you tell people? Ooh. Or would you hold on to that for a little bit first?
I feel like I'd have to hold on to it for a little bit first. Because the first thing that's going to happen is really it's like what the premise of Batman versus Superman was. Batman was like, I have to kill Superman because if he at any point decides that he doesn't like humans anymore, well, he can fucking wipe out the human race, right?
Right.
So
leave it to Batman to beat up Superman. Of course, that's gonna work.
I'm just saying that's what would happen if I will. Like that's the first thing that would go into my mind is I can't tell anybody. I can't let anybody know.
Would you tell me?
Because I don't even know of what I would fucking do at first, dude. I'd probably have to see if I can control them.
You wouldn't tell me?
It'd probably be like a day before. I'd have to see if this is a fluke or if this is something that's going to stick with me.
Like, did you wake up with the 24-hour, like it's a flu, the 24-hour flu?
I wouldn't say it's out of the it's kind of out of the ordinary to wake up as Superman, Matthew. I don't know what the fuck's going on. If I wake up and I'm levitating from my bed just because I now have the ability to fly, well, the first thing I'm going to think is, well, I'm fucking possessed. I'm levitating off a bed, And then, like, if all of a sudden you're just brushing your teeth and laser beams come out of your eyes, well, you might be a little concerned about that. I might not be able to hide it from you. You'll probably just know. The house will just be destroyed. I'll be, like, in a fetal position in the corner.
Like, I don't know my own strength.
Like, I don't know what's happening to me, guys. But no, I feel
like I would have to tell everyone. If I woke up as Superman tomorrow, I would have to tell everyone.
With full control over powers?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like I can fly when I want. I can shoot laser beams. I can X-ray vision.
I mean, if something like that existed in the real world, I mean, the first thing that has to happen is panic, right?
Well, I mean, think about the actual Superman, right? Everyone panicked when they found out there was a super person. Right. But if they try to shoot him or catch him or attack him, he just flies away.
So at some point, you just have to accept
you're not even, there's nothing to be afraid of.
And I just hope to God that he's, always on your side.
Yeah, like, I dare you to try to arrest me. I'm Superman. Mm-hmm. I do whatever I want.
If you could have a new superpower, which superpower would you have?
Oh. Well, not flying. I hate heights.
Okay.
Fuck flying. You don't really need super strength. It's not incredibly helpful. I would say I would probably go with...
Have you not thought about this before?
I guess I've never really thought about it before.
Ooh, I feel like that's just a thought that everybody has at some point.
No, well, I hate flying. Everyone wants to fly. Right? I hate heights. Mm-hmm. I don't like it. I would say like laser beams from the eyeballs, like that kind of, or like really good vision.
Okay.
Would be nice.
Okay.
Something that could help me make money, like if I could be incredibly smart.
Oh, there you go, like crazy intellect.
Yeah, that'd be great. Something practical, something that actually helps every day. Because, listen, I'm not a superhero. Right. So if I have superpowers, I am not going to use them to try to save anybody. Okay, I'm telling you right now, I'm not a superhero.
Right.
So, yeah, if I have superpowers, I'm going to use it to try to, like, start a company or something.
I think I'd want to have
I'm selfish.
telekinesis.
Oh, that's a good one.
Be able to move
Where
things
were you
with your
30 seconds
mind.
ago, Adam?
I was curious what you were going to come up with.
Oh, telekinesis would be awesome.
I
That'd be
think
great.
telekinesis would be cool.
You know what I'd really like too? You remember like Sabrina the Teenage Witch back
Yeah.
in the day? How she could like snap her fingers and like there'd be a bowl of fruit on the table. Like whatever she wanted, she could just snap her fingers and it appeared.
Right.
That is the superpower I would want.
Okay, so almost like you'd want to be like a warlock or a witch kind of figure that could do things like that.
Yeah, but a nice one. I don't like the
Well,
spirits and stuff.
I'm not saying it has to be mean. I'm just saying, but like
Yes,
those
I want to
kind
be
of
able to snap my
realms.
fingers and make anything appear. That would be
Ooh.
super helpful.
That'd be interesting.
I would get really fat though.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd get super fat because I just never move.
So what would you do? You would just make a bunch of money appear. I mean, obviously, you'd probably just make a bunch of money appear at first, right? Just like whenever
Well, I mean,
you
that's
need it.
simple enough, yeah, but then you still have the power and you still have to live your life, right?
Right.
That's the first 10 seconds of having that. Oh, there's money. Boom. Now what do you do?
What about teleportation? You could just teleport anywhere you wanted.
So I'm hesitant because of the interaction of teleporting. Like, I don't know what it would be like while you're teleporting when you're all
Like-
those little pieces and shit. I don't know.
Let's say you experience it as just like you blink, and then
You're
all
just
of a
there.
sudden, yeah, you're just there. Maybe other people will see it differently, but you experience it as a blink.
No, I would get way too fat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you never see a fat person with telekinesis. You only ever see a really super built, like super person.
When you see somebody with the power of teleportation or telekinesis, yeah.
Right. Right. When you see them, they're rare. They're rare. Every now and then you come across one. Yeah, no, I would. It's like super strength. You know, if I had super strength, I would never exercise again. I'd become terribly unhealthy. So you almost have to have regular strength to keep yourself like healthy.
So was there ever any, and this doesn't even have to be superhero per se, but was there anybody that, I'm trying to think of how to word this, like any cartoon or character that you were just super into when you were younger? Some people could say Scooby-Doo or something like that, right? But just like any specific like character growing up from stories or comic books or cartoons that you really enjoyed that really stuck with you over the years.
Well, as a small child, I did have a strange fascination with Barney. I was really into Barney.
I was into Barney at
as a
one
little
point.
kid. Probably till almost too old of an age.
Really?
Like 9 or 10, maybe 11.
Okay.
I was pretty into Barney. I was that kid. And then after that, no, I was so all over the place. I was very much like an ADD kid. I would get bored of one character after a while.
Okay.
But what I will say is I did play a lot of like video games. Okay. And I particularly enjoy adventure kind of games. And in that, you usually make a character who is a hero, right?
Right.
And I will say that when I create characters, I very much prefer to specialize than to be like a little bit good at everything. I would rather be a master at one thing and like put all my experience points, it's like everything into one thing, be super good at it, than be like average at a whole bunch of different stuff. Like I never like druids. Druids can be like, they can do anything, but they're only kind of good at everything.
Oh,
I would
so
much rather be like a knight and be amazing with a sword, or like a caster and be super good with fire spells.
that's how it's. So every time I play video games like that, I always just go for strength. Like my number.
Bash your way through it.
Yeah, my number one thing, like
Interesting.
goal, is every time I play a game, it's like I want to be able to just slash them once and then kill them. So I'll usually just spend time leveling up my character's strength a
What
lot.
if you can shoot a
and-
fireball at him and kill him?
I mean, I'll use those as tools. I won't neglect those things, but you know, I like in games of like, oh, what do you want to specialize in? I'm always like strength. Maybe I have super strength. Maybe that's what I want.
I always did agility. I always liked the rogue, like the stabby, backstab, come out of the shadows when you're already weak, get you.
Oh yeah.
That was always the character I liked.
The way that it's like I don't even feel like you could do that because like games. I saw a friend playing a game once, And
Cool story, Adam.
thank you, thank you. But well, it was during the create your character screen, right? Like
Right,
your
yeah.
avatar or
Oh.
whatnot. But there were so many fucking options anymore
Oh,
of what you
yeah.
could do
Oh, it's
with a
crazy.
like there were literally like 15 classes that you could choose from.
Dude, nowadays you can choose like where they're from, and that makes a
Yeah.
difference. You can choose their bloodline, and that'll make a difference. You can choose like what kind of school they went to learn in, and it's intense now, dude.
And it just gives you this web and it shows, okay, everything's going here anymore. And
Yeah,
I'm always just
yeah.
like, just give me strength, give me strength.
Well, hopefully I'll never have to actually meet any kind of superhero, because I don't know if I would do well in that situation. Um, I feel like I would get a lot of anxiety if I saw someone just like picking up a car.
Well, just knowing that somebody like that is currently existing, I think that knowledge alone is just like, all right, well.
Yeah, I don't know that I would be able to sleep well at night with that.
Plus, you're talking about, I mean, they've even touched on this in some superhero movies, the destruction of cities and such because of what they're doing.
Yeah,
it's,
nobody's got
it's like
time for
it
that.
almost becomes another like natural disaster of like, oh, we got Hurricane Ivan coming in. Oh, we got Superman fighting with, Thor today. Like,
You thank God we don't have to deal with that.
yeah, no
That would be
kidding.
ridiculous.
No kidding.
We'll just do things the good old-fashioned way.
The good old fashioned way. Well, I think, we hit on all of our topics on superheroes. I think that's. brought
I'm
us to
sorry I
time
wasn't
here.
more informed on superheroes today. If I could, I would go back and redo my whole childhood just for this moment. I feel like the last hour would have been better if I knew more.
No, it was a good conversation. Like I said, I almost wanted to just see somebody's opinion who doesn't have the same kind of like comic book nerd or like superhero kind of nerd aspect that some other people do,
I'm a different kind of nerd.
But I mean, that's what was cool though, just knowing your opinions. But thank you guys so much for watching, or not watching. Thank you so much for listening to us today, guys. We hope you enjoyed this podcast about superheroes. Again, we'll have another exciting subject for you tomorrow. Remember, you can follow us on all the social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And we still have our GoFundMe going, gofundme.com/Hardly Millennial. You can check us out there, throw some money in the jar. And yeah,
Great effect. I love it.
Any last words, Matthew?
I just want to thank you guys again. You guys have been just crazy amounts of support has been coming from you guys lately, and it keeps me and Adam going. It keeps the fire inside our bellies burning strong, and it's phenomenal. I really didn't think that we would get to this point this quickly.
Yeah,
So I just want to thank you guys for giving us this opportunity to do this for you.
Yeah, thank you a lot, guys. We appreciate all the views, the comments, the subscribers, and just anybody who just decides to click on one of our links. That's really cool, guys. Thank you.
Well, we'll see you on the next one, guys.
See you later.